welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and today I'm going to be doing one of my book videos. And today it's going to be one review and then my plans for Indiecember, which is a reading challenge created by Megan Tennant of Cloud Kitten Chronicles. Yes, I just had to look that up. And if I can bother myself to do it, I will put up the bingo board that is used for the challenge here, and I'll show you as I go through which little things I'm ticking off. I am doing the far right hand row, and I'm doing just one bingo instead of a blackout, so only each book I'm doing will count once. But I'll finish telling you that in a little bit, because first I have a book review for you. This is Sam Kills Christmas by Thomas Ridgewell. I really like Tom Scott. I started following his last week vlogs about a year ago, actually. I found him through Dan and Phil because he was in their Truth Bombs video and he made a joke about depression, and from that I guessed that he was probably depressed, because usually only depressed people feel safe making jokes about depression, and I like to hear from depressed people, so I went and checked out his vlogs, and they were really good, and he does talk about his depression a lot, and so I started following him, and he's really funny, and I definitely swear more because of him, but you know, ups and downs, turns and roundabouts, it's worth it. He has been talking about writing this book for quite a while. He was contracted to write it before I started watching, but he actually wrote it quite a while after I started watching because there was some major procrastination going on. When he finally had the idea and had to sit down and write it with his co-writer Eddie, who isn't on the cover but is... where is it? There. He actually got it done rather quickly by book standards. And what it is a children's book, so it's got illustrations like so, and it is the story of how Sam kills Christmas, or specifically kills Santa Claus, although actually quite a lot of other Christmassy characters as well. So Sam is a gender neutral character. From what Tom said while he was writing it or talking about it, Sam isn't specifically a non-binary character, but it could be interpreted that way. Tom just said that he didn't know the gender identity, so he's just going to go with calling Sam they. And that way I think it's really cool because they are dressed androgynously, have fairly androgynous hair and facial features, and basically any child can see themselves as being the hero of this book. These are my jingly bells. For Christmas, my mom and I have jingly bells. But if you hear that, that's what that is. So that's one thing to like about it, the gender neutralness. How do I describe this? This is the inner cover. It's a very Tom Scott kind of book. He doesn't like Christmas because he was raised Jehovah's Witness, so there's a lot of negative things surrounding Christmas in Tom's memory. A person who doesn't really have fond memories of Christmas combined with someone who really likes to blow stuff up and have weapons everywhere. This is very much the sort of book you would expect that sort of person to write. But one thing that I really like about it is the illustrations are gorgeous. They're done by Darina Draws, I believe is her name, and they're just really beautiful. And you can see pretty much all of the illustrations in the animated version of the story, which is on either Tom Scott, the channel, or Dark Switch. I think it's on Tom Scott. So if you're not sure about buying this, you can check that out first and then see if that's something you actually like, which was something that I liked, partially because of the illustrations, which are very much my sort of thing that I like to do. If you've watched my watercolor illustrations, I really like this sort of style. And all of the prose is rhyming, which took quite a bit of effort, you can tell at some points. That's the same one I already showed you. Anyway, like, a quote is, "A robot, a fake, it was all just a trick. Sam had been fooled by a decoy Saint Nick." And they all have really nice rhythms, and the way it flows is just really pleasant. Oh, also Sam is an adopted child with POC parents, which is also really cool. So it has some really nice, wholesome themes to it, while also not the usual thing you get for your happy little sweet child. That's about all I can do to describe it, so I'm going to link you to the video of the book below, and then you can see whether it's something you want for your kid or not for yourself. I liked it. I don't do star ratings, but it was good. And I think it's a good way, if you do have a child who has a bent toward fire and explosions and violence, but you want to let them have stuff they enjoy, but also have it not racist, sexist type things that go along with a lot of content made for people who like violence. This would be a good choice for that. Okay, now on to my Indiecember plans. Here's the little board again, and I'm going to show you the books that I'm going to tick off this side of the bingo board with. It took a bit of doing to find books for it, but I picked the row that I was going to do based on that it didn't have anything I didn't like in it. One of the rows that I didn't pick had romance in it, another one has contemporary, which I also don't like. One had dystopian, which I don't like, things like that. Or things that I thought would be hard to find. And basically I was mainly limited by, I was picking books that I already own and just have yet to read and review. Because when indie authors who want to get their book out there offer free books or books for $1, I'll almost always pick up the free books if it's in a genre that I might like. And sometimes I'll also pick up the ones for $1 if I know the author and trust that it might actually be worth it, because I am on a pretty much permanent book buying ban. I only buy books when I have extra money from Christmas or birthdays, and then I put it into buying in order the books that I have on my list to buy that I've already read. I only buy books full price if I've already read them anymore, because I've been disappointed by so many full price books I've read, full price books that I've bought and then read. So I don't do that anymore. It's a huge waste of money. So if I haven't read a book, I will only buy it if it's $1 or less, which makes it hard to read indie books because they're usually not in libraries, which is usually how I find books before I buy them. So I get free books when the authors are looking to promote and get more reviews. And then if I end up liking them, then I might put it on my list next Christmas or birthday to get a print copy of that book. Or I will buy them if I have heard good reviews from somebody who I really trust their opinion, like my cousin who has very similar taste in books to me, or a booktuber who I found I really agree with the opinions of. With all those reasons behind the books I was picking, these are the ones I ended up with. The first one is Forever's End by Ann Wheeler, and it is a novella. I had this one already in my library because I read the first Azrian Skies story, this is a novella connected with the main story of Azrian Skies, just set elsewhere and with different characters but in the same universe. And that is going to tick off the novella section of the little bingo board. And that's the only one that I've already read. I have started reading another one, which is Night Vision by Auggie Petersen. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you might know I did a collab with Auggie a while ago during October, because I was doing a spooky sort of theme, and she is a horror writer, and she does horror movie reviews on her podcast. So we talked about leprechauns, and I did a painting of Leprechaun on my channel, and on her podcast we talked about the movie The Leprechaun, which is a very bad horror movie, and she's very good at trashing bad horror movies, so I'll link that below as well. But this is a new edition of a collection of short horror stories that Auggie had made previously, and she decided she wasn't really happy with how it was before, so she came out with a new 2018 edition, I believe on Halloween of this year. And so it is a collection of short horror stories, and I've read one of them, which was quite horror-y, which is not my favorite genre if you've watched these before, but while the genre isn't to my taste, I definitely liked a lot of aspects of it and could recognize the quality of it. It maintained tension well. The prose was good, meaning word choice and flow and that kind of thing. And then I've skipped the next one because it was from the illustration that came at the beginning of it and the name of it, it sounded like it was about being buried alive. And I have claustrophobia, so I decided not to read that one, but I'm going to continue reading the rest throughout the month. The third one I'm planning on reading is The Sleeping Sickness by A.R. Hellbender. And A.R. Hellbender is a YouTuber, a booktuber, and so that will be checking off that box. And I liked the description of this one, and I also kind of feel the same way about books that the author does, because I follow her booktube channel, and so I think that that might be a good match for me. Then we have Colors of Fear by Hannah Heath. And Hannah Heath is also an author that I follow. She has a writing blog and she writes really good advice on there, so I thought it'd be worth risking $1 on her latest book. And it has 22 Amazon reviews, I believe, so it counts towards that square on the bingo board. Then the last one I'm planning on reading and reviewing for Indecember is Masters of Deception by J.C. Kang. And you don't know what efforts I had to go to find out if this person was actually a person of color, because you can't necessarily go by the name, as a lot of authors use pen names. So I searched the internet until I found a video of him where he was actually talking on his Patreon. Found out that yes, in fact, he is Asian. In fact, I'm fairly certain from the other details that I got along the way to finding that video that he is probably specifically Chinese, because he is a Chinese medicine practitioner, doctor person who, that's how he made his living for a while. And I know quite a lot about him now. He's also a martial artist expert, and he actually turned his old D&D world into, he totally reworked it and made it better, but he based the world that he now writes in on some of his ideas and work that he did making D&D worlds to play with his friends when he was a kid. So he's pretty cool, and he's actually really funny too. I'll link you to his Patreon so you can go watch the video. It's really funny. But it is a diverse fantasy world with all sorts of different races in it, and they all have their own cultures, and he's worked out like trade routes and religions and mythologies and magic systems, a bunch of different magic systems and all sorts of really cool stuff to go into this book. I found this on my Kindle. I don't know if that's because it was being given away for free or if my brother bought it. It's the sort of thing my brother would buy. But I am very excited to read it, and I've actually started it, the first few pages, and they were quite good. So I encourage you to get involved in Indecember. There are going to be prizes and discussion and lots of stuff, so if you want to get involved, you totally can. I'll link the website below. Oh, 1 second. I will just mention that my book, Seer's Fate, is indie published and fills some of the bingo board. I'm an LGBTQ plus author. I'm asexual. What else? It's fantasy, that's one of them. It's a short story. It's 14,000 words. So it would cover the short story one. It's got white on the cover. I'm a booktuber, so that's another one it could cover. And it has 0 to 5 Amazon reviews. It has 2 reviews. So it could be used either for blackout style, counting for all of those different ones, or you could just pick whichever one you want if you are just doing bingo style. Oh, and green on the cover too. That's one of them. Or if you want to get the middle square, you can gift it to someone. I look forward to seeing your videos and reviews. If you, in December, tweet the video and tag me on Twitter, or just comment that you've done one down below and I'll have to go check it out, because I'd love to know what you're finding, because I have a really hard time finding good indie books because they're not at the library, so I can't find out if they're good before I buy them, and it's very frustrating. So if you find some really good ones for me, then I can support those authors. And so this has been day 2 of the 12 days of Christmas I'm doing on my channel. You can tune back in for another 10 days before the 25th.